Let's get this.
Nor are they a nightmarish concoction of organs and indoctrination. They are built and gene-crafted with science bordering on magic. They number 10,000 strong, and each of them is a hero. They are the
Adeptus Custodes.
Rare is the battle where an emperor's custodians outnumber our foes. We are ever beset, surrounded upon all sides by heresy and foulness, just as is Terra itself. Yet, like the throne world, we stand resolute, indefatigable, indomitable. Let the enemy come. Let them darken the horizon with their numbers. Still, we will prevail. Though the emperor sits rotting on the golden throne, his talons remain sharp. The talons of the emperor was the name given to the most elite forces at his disposal. The left hand of his talons comes in the form of the Sisters of Silence, psychic blanks that scour the galaxy to claim souls, to fuel the Astronomicon in the form of the Great Tithe. 1,000 psychers sacrificed daily to keep the Emperor of Mankind alive, dragged into the black.
Weird question, but do these guys have personal lives? Or you just stand there for eternity? What's going on? Like, are you completely and utterly devoted to the God Emperor? Or what? Like, how does that work? Do you work in shifts? Because I gotta go home, bro. I cannot be standing in that hallway forever. Hey, the Sisters of Silence. They look hella cool.
Black ships of the Silent Sisterhood, the right hand of the Emperor's protectorate, his golden bodyguards that serve him and only him. These are the Custodians. While the members of the Space Marines went out to take back the galaxy, the Legio Custodes stood back and kept a close watch over the Emperor himself. The Custodes are, in a sense, similar to Space Marines in that they are genetically modified super soldiers clad in power armor, but that is where the similarities stop. Their genetic makeup seems to be made from the Emperor himself, or at least something quite close. And the precision of their creation predates the development of the Space Marines and even the Primarchs.
Ooh.
Unlike Space Marine recruitment, where there's a process undertaken when a subject is at least somewhat grown, a Custodian's process begins at infancy. The methods
at infancy
are a secret, but what is known is that at the very beginning, each Custodian was made by the Emperor himself. Regardless of the bioalchemical process, the process is exceptionally long and grueling, and only a handful of selected aspirants make it to the end. Those that do are clad in the most—
Bro, what was the Emperor doing? You are making all these guys, everybody. Why didn't you make someone whose sole job was sitting on the damn throne? If it was me, bro, I would have made someone to sit on that chair and not do it myself. Or is it only him that could have possibly been able to do it? I mean, bro, at least clone yourself. What are you doing? If he had known about the leagues of Votan, he could have used that AI to clone himself and then have his own clone to sit on the chair. Big brain, bro. I'm using 150% of my brain. You just don't see it. Because apparently my brain is better than the Emperor's brain. Because I would have done that, bro. But anyway, hey, let's hear what bro has to say.
Regal and effective armor in the Imperium. Commonly, a Custodian is seen carrying a Guardian Spear, an utterly yoked up version of the staves the Praetorian Guards of the Emperor in Star Wars had. They are also clad with specific shields and blades, but the most interesting thing with all of their gear is that due to the meticulous and dedicated maintenance and preservation of their armor and gear, these items are the same ones they used 10,000 years ago. The custodians do not age
10,000
biologically,
years, bro.
So some of the veterans in the guard may be several thousand years old. And unlike the Space Marines, they fight entirely as a solo force. When a line of custodians is holding back waves of enemies, they operate independently. There are no battle formations, there are no squad tactics. Each custodian is the main character, trailed by serfs and servitors, tasked entirely to reload their weapons. They fight with a singular purpose, if not action. Groups of custodians will dispatch enemy after enemy, their spears coming within inches of each other, but never close enough for a killing blow. Their strikes are intentionally defensive,
They are
allowing
cold.
their opponents to attack 1 to 2 times before parrying and ending their lives. Each strike deflected is an opportunity to know their enemy more and learn from their patterns. They are truly the Emperor's bodyguards, masters of close combat, enemy knowledge, and reactions measured in milliseconds. Though the custodians are a part of the Adeptus Terra, the members of the Guard only answer to their own leadership and the Emperor himself. The leader of the custodians is known as the Captain General, and individual squads
The Captain General.
are overseen by a shield captain. As their focus is on the Emperor, their command center is located within the Imperial Palace. The Tower of Hegemon serves as their primary base of operations, but there is a dedicated elite guard of custodians known as the Companions that stands 300 strong by the Emperor's side. In total, the custodians are 10,000 strong, and when a member retires, their name is added to the Hall of Name and vanish across the galaxy in a cloaked disguise to serve as eyes and ears for the Imperium. Despite their numbers and their strength, the members of the custodians do not consider themselves to be soldiers or warriors in any way. They see themselves strictly as the guardians of the Emperor in all facets of his presence. This extends beyond the physical. Custodians believe they represent the guarding of the Emperor's ideals and philosophies too. Their gains are both physical and literary. They are the protectorates of everything the Emperor stood for.
Come on, bro. They are, but why are they not protecting his image? They let these people form a whole religion around their boy. Why are they not correcting everyone? I mean, they knew the guy personally. They knew the guy because they were always there with the guy. Why are you not stepping in and stopping these guys? Or is it because like religious ideology is strong and it's the only thing keeping everything together, and going against that would then like break whatever they have left?
And in doing so, the custodians are also artisans and scholars, in addition to being the Golden Guard of the Golden Throne. However, due to this nature of being protectorates, they have a very strong view when it comes to the Space Marines and the Primarchs. The Emperor himself had insinuated many times that once the galaxy was brought to heel, that there would be no need for the Space Marines anymore, and they were to go the same way that the Thunder Warriors went before them. The custodians were meant to be the judge, jury, and executioner of this will.
What?
And are biologically designed not only to be able to take down Space Marine with ease, but to be able to go toe-to-toe with the Primarch as well. During the heresy, the custodians mused on how
I've realized like the way their armor looks, like the breastplate, it kind of resembles the ones I've seen from the Thunder Warriors. Why is that? Or is this something the Emperor gave to his like immediate guard?
how suspiciously easy it was to kill Chaos Space Marines, as if they were trained and made for that explicit purpose. Constantine Valdor, one of the closest advisors of the Emperor, was asked if he ever disagreed with Big E on something, and he said once, with the formation of the Primarchs.
I feel I do my best, but they don't.
Let me ask you a very fair question.
Bro was onto
What do you do
something.
successfully? Quickly.
I hate that every time we're in Untucked, the conversations are about me.
And besides the trained distrust for Space Marines, the Custodians also have evidence for their distrust. The Horus Heresy saw half of the chapters fall to chaos and turn traitor against the Emperor. In the mind of a Custodian, the fact that half of the Space Marines fell before means that the other half can fall with ease.
Just
they are
as
fully capable
easy.
of wiping out literally any force put against them, and in a sense are the final representation of the golden age of terror. However, they are forced to stand in silent and blind service to the Emperor and to the ill of the Imperium. And they, for 10,000 years, have stood vigil over the Imperium and have watched its rise and fall with the inability to do anything about it. While they do go out and fight some battles here and there, at the end of the day, the vastness of the Imperium means that the closest advisors to the Emperor himself are powerless to make any change. But goddamn, can they kill a Space Marine? For 100 years, I stood my watch amidst the somber shadows of...
If I were them, bro, I'd immediately start obliterating those guys. Because there is no need for you. But hey, if it's not from the God Emperor, then no one is going to listen to them by the sounds of it. And it might be looked at as heresy. So it's kind of hard to do it. Like, the religion, man, is so deeply embedded in the Imperium. I don't see them going against it.
The Sanctum Imperialis. I was still as a statue, but always ready, always attuned to dangers unseen. Days, months, years passed by in a frenzied blur beyond those walls, yet within, little moved and nothing changed. For 100 years, I did not but wait, yet had any threat appeared, I would have struck it down in a heartbeat. For 100 years, I stood my watch, and as it ends, I can tell you this: patience is a weapon. Of course, a threat directly to Terra itself would appear to be something foolish. It's in the deepest parts of Imperial space and is one of the most defended bastions in the galaxy. You'd truly have to be foolhardy or insane to think that you can take on Terra itself. However, one faction certainly got close. In the dark ages of the stars, in a river of misery, there is one faction having a crackin' old time. The galaxy sees them as savages, yet they have already figured out the questions of the universe. Their numbers are uncountable, their technology incomprehensible, and yet their violence is so very green. I am, of course, talking about the...
Oh, the British!
The orcs are the pinnacle of creation. For them, the great struggle is won.
Hey, yo, why are the orcs British in this? What the hell? I hear they do talk with a British accent. How true is that?
They have evolved a society which knows no stress or angst. Who are we to judge them? We Eldar who have failed, or the humans on the road to ruin in their turn? And why? Because we saw answers to questions that an orc wouldn't even bother to ask. We see a culture that is strong and despise it as crude. During the war in heaven, the old ones were doing their best to spawn as many combatants to their cause as possible by seeding the galaxy in a specialized sense. The Eldar were made to be a precise and tactical species to fight off the Catan and the Necrons, but another prominent species was made by them as well. The
Chads.
Warriors clad in ornate armor with more dangerous weaponry. However, things changed, and these warriors changed, and the Krork are no more. They are now known as the boys, the lads, the mates, the orcs. An orc in 40k looks
the
like an orc in most other fantasy media. Hulking, warlike monstrosities with big teeth and worse attitudes. However, unlike the more Tolkien-esque forms of these creatures, the devastating nature of the orcs is in their biology. Unlike most species in the galaxy, the orcs are actually a type of fungus. This fungus itself comes in various forms. The small goblin-like Gretchen.
What do you mean they're a type of fungus? What the hell? I don't know why, but I would have thought like the orcs would be serving Nurgle. It would just be perfect for them. But hey, them boys are doing their own thing, they're vibing out. Just war and vibes with the boys, with the lads.
And snotlings are a part of this fungal ecosystem as well, and also the squigs, which can be used for basically anything. But regardless of what is a part of the fungal system, all of them are born from spores that land on the ground and grow. As they travel around the galaxy, they drop spores literally everywhere, and then an orc dies, and they drop tons of fungal spores that allows for their numbers to be replenished over a period of time.
They are immortal then.
Orcs are not only extremely prominent across the galaxy, but they are exceptionally resilient due to their growing cycle. Even if one orc lands on a planet, it will be nearly impossible to get rid of all of the orc presence unless the planet itself is completely destroyed. And even then, they might find a way to survive.
Damn!
Due to their fungal nature, orcs don't really stop growing. And the more long-lived an orc is, the bigger they get. And the more an orc fights, the bigger they get. Of course, since they're constantly getting into scraps, an orc's lifespan isn't necessarily that long, so the bigger orcs are harder to find. Though
they sound like a nightmare, bro.
Tribe-based species that is comprised of warbands, and the biggest and the strongest orc leads the warband known as the War Boss. At the bottom end of the orc tribal system are the Gretchens and the Snotlings. These members act as the servants and slaves of the orcs, and sometimes their actual ammunition, despite being a bit smarter and more cunning than their bigger brethren. Because in orc culture, the biggest is the boss. The smallest is picked on and thrown around. Beyond the warbands and the tribes, orcs also belong to a specific clan. Tribes constantly shatter and rebuild, but the clans do not. They are, in a sense, a psychological state of being for any given orc, and gives an orc their specific character and traits. And to make things easier, these clans are also color-coded, so that's very easy to tell what orc does what. Though
they have clans?
6 of them are the most prominent and well-known. The Bad Moons are essentially the merchants and have a lot of money because their currency is teeth, and they grow teeth faster than any others. The Blood Axes are the stealth units, and
the Blood Axes,
like slightly more quiet than the others, and they have a love for LARPing as humies. Death Skulls are the scavengers, and the Goths are the close combat specialists. And on
hey, bro, these guys spend their time LARPing as human beings. Hey, that's gotta be fun though, because they basically have a hobby. As the first creatures in this verse that I've heard about that have an actual hobby. Not like the Drukhari, because I'm not talking about those hobbies. We're not talking about that. Those guys have a lot of hobbies. And I don't want to call them hobbies because they're terrible, terrible things. But the orcs. Hey, shout out the orcs, man.
On the two ends of the spectrum, we also have the tech-savvy evil sons and the more traditionalist and tribal snakebites. Another major facet of orcs is their religious beliefs. They believe in 2 gods, Gork and Mork. Gork is cunningly brutal and Mork is brutally cunning. The difference between them, according to orcs, is that Mork hits you when you aren't looking and Gork hits you when you are. There's a lot of confusion as to which one is which, and this results in a lot of infighting. In other species, this would be considered a sort of religious conflict. But for the orcs, it's just another excuse to fight. I have a quote here, but I don't really do a good orc voice. So I'm going to get my co-host of That's Ridiculous to read this one, and I'll try to lip sync it.
Oh, he's more cunning in a grot and more killy than a dread.
Hey!
The boys that follow me can't be beat. On Pisana, we jumped the marine. boys, and our boss pose was covered in the helmets we took from the
Hey!
dead. We burned their port and killed their bosses and left nothing but ruins behind. I'm Warlord Gezgul Mac Uruk-Drucker, and I speak with the word of the gods. We's gonna stomp the universe flat and kill anything
Hey!
that fights back.
Look at how they spell that universe. Universe. Hey, that could be a brand name. Universe. Hey, if I had money, I'm just saying, if I had money, that would be the brand name right there. Universe. Hey, soon as I get monetized, I'm starting that universe brand line. Be on the lookout for that.
Do this, 'cause we're orcs, and we was made to fight
Universe.
and win.
It's because this fucking sounds terrible. Fighting is the biggest aspect of orc culture, and it's essentially their life's purpose. They are genetically hardwired to get into battles and scraps with enemies that can feel pain. The more they fight, the bigger they get. This, combined with them getting bigger over time, means that some of the biggest and baddest orcs of all time have been notably gigantic. The Beast, as he was known, was about the size of an imperial knight. If an orc runs out of other enemies to fight, they will immediately start infighting to scratch the battle itch. For example, in The Warp, a planet exists where a band of orcs are in a constant state of war and battle, and have been for an improbably long amount of time, strictly because how much Korn enjoys himself watching it. For some, being trapped in a perpetual
Oh,
war
yeah.
planet for eternity would be a fate worse
They
than death.
feed
But
corn.
boys, this is heaven. In the event of a particularly big battle, a massive amount of tribes and warbands will unite under what is known as the Wa. The concept of a Wa covers a few bases. The first is the group aspect of the massive green tidal wave
The
of
Wa.
fighting for the same cause, the cause being the second base. But the most prominent aspect of the Wa is the psychic aspect of it. Remember how the old ones made the Eldar and all the Eldar are psychic? Well, the orcs are too, kinda, but just not as much. Only a little bit of it. And they often don't know how to use it, and frankly don't care.
Big
But a
brain.
huge gathering of orcs generates a psychic field that allows orcs to be more organized, dangerous, and dedicated to the war-based cause. However, the true extent of the psychic energy and its usage is relatively unknown, but that doesn't matter considering the outcome 90% of the time. In a similar sense, their ragtag technology and weaponry is also a mystery to most who encounter it, purely because of that Wa energy. The technology the orcs use seem to be held
Bro, like, do the orcs fight for a purpose? Or is this for vibes? Like, we're fighting to fight. Who are they fighting for? Are they fighting for themselves? Are they fighting for entertainment? Do they have a cause? What's their role in all this? Like, somebody explain that to me. Like, what are we doing here, bro? Because we cannot just be fighting, but I bet you that's what they're doing for the vibes.
together with duct tape and plastic glue, and crude doesn't even begin to describe it. Their guns seem to have an inordinate amount of ammunition and firepower, and they are seemingly able to put things together on the fly in the middle of combat. The Imperium is of the mind that the orcs' weapons and machinery only work due to their innate psychic ability, but realistically, orc gear hardly works in the first place. Weapons blow up in a Bugs Bunny-esque manner all the time, and their war buggies can collapse in the middle of battle. Just because it works a handful of times doesn't
Doesn't mean it
it's an
works
effective
all the
weapon.
time.
But this doesn't stop the orcs and their green tide. To really understand the power of the Wa energy, orcs can operate purely off of belief. Now, a misconception is that orcs believe something is real and it happens. But that isn't true, because that's just one orc. However, there's never one orc. There's normally a few billion orcs together, and if they all believe
Billions?
something is true, the warp will tend to respond with a
A few billions. Hey, let me let this run through. Like, I have a lot to say about these guys.
Positive green light. Sometimes. Do the red ones go faster? Well, with enough orcs, yeah. How does an orc buggy with an engine block that's just a boulder with vroom vroom written in chalk work? Who cares? Orcs breathing on a ship with a hull breach? Go ahead. An orc went back in time to kill a version of himself so he could have two of his favorite weapons. It is shenanigans.
What?
Because of their actions and aesthetic, the orcs tend to be presented in a comic relief sense in a lot of media, particularly the media from their perspective. They are bumbling and loud and goofy British football hooligans, and they say silly things and act in silly ways. But to the citizens of the Imperium, the orcs are far from funny. They are violent and irrational creatures that take humans for punching bags, slaves, or ultimately dinner. They have no moral compass and are violent and brutal killers that know nothing else. They are genetically designed to be a violent species that was capable of beating back the Necrons and the Catan. And if the orcs were ever able to unify under one banner, they would be utterly unstoppable.
Damn!
However, due to their aggressive nature, their organizational skills are non-existent, and they tend to just beat each other up for the fun of it. All that exists in the mind of an orc is fighting, and nothing else. If they wipe out their enemies, they will inevitably wipe themselves out as well. They are a brutal Ouroboros doomed to an endless war cycle, but to an orc, why does it matter? If they fight and they win, they win.
That was
if they fight and they
slick.
die, it was a good fight. Now that the Xenos armies are growing in strength and more.
Yeah, I think that's the end of the orcs, but these guys sound like a nightmare. Like, if they act like a bacteria, there is no end to these guys. And they're numbered in the billions. And for each one that dies, thousands more get like created because of like the spores. How do you then destroy these guys? Because I heard him saying like exterminatus doesn't even work sometimes. What the hell do you mean by that? And the fact that their machines work because they believe they work kind of sounds like the Adeptus Mechanicus. These guys are on another level, bro. I wasn't expecting that. But I will be stopping the video there, so be on the lookout for part 3 of this video. The whole video is part 2, but I mean like the part 3 that I will be uploading from this video. And if you haven't checked part 1, go check it out. It's there on the Warhammer 40k playlist, and I will keep reminding you guys because I know some people just find this video first and never actually find the other video. So it's there if you want to react to it. Like, I've reacted to a few Warhammer 40k videos from Bricky now, so do check them out. And on that note, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.